All right, Parashat Terumah. Parashat Terumah starts with the famous words. Before we're going to start with the famous words of Parashat Terumah, we just to remind everybody that this shiur is dedicated to Refuah Shlema of Shaul ben Marvari. תהיה לו רפואה שלמה, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף.
Amen.
Parasha starts with the word ועשו לי מקדש
ושכנתי
בתוכם. They should make me a temple and I would dwell among them. Of course, Chazal told us, it wasn't said betocho in it, but it says within them. And the Mekubalim says something interesting. The Mekubalim said that Kadosh Baruch Hu does not just dwell in a building, but also within the person himself. The Mishkan, building the temple, or the tabernacle for that matter, is not the purpose. Is not the purpose. The Mishkan is just a mirror. It's a reflection of an internal structure of awareness, of internal structure of the kli, of the vessel. The Kabbalah teaches us that the light that comes from above, Ha'or HaEloki, what is so called, is endless. It's beyond our ability to grasp. It's really endless. But the light, by being the light itself, right, cannot be revealed unless there is a vessel that holds it, or for that matter, some kind of a object that could even reflect on. If I put the light in a vacuum and there's nothing there for the light, endless pit for the light to reflect, I'm not going to see the light. But we see it's only a reflection of the light that comes, right? If you're going to look at where we're at right now, the only reason why we're able to see because the light bounces off the object that it reaches, and that's how we see. But I don't see the actual light coming down this way. So that's an interesting concept, right? Without a vessel, right? We need to understand that the kli, therefore the vessels, is just a emtsai, is just a mediary, right? It is the condition, the kli, the vessel is a condition for the revelation itself. As we just said, is where what actually shows us that there is a light here. Without the kli, without that vessel, the light is ungraspable. You can't grasp the light. There's nothing for it to reflect. There's nothing for it to hold. So therefore, you can't even experience the light. And if we're going to look at this way, if a person doesn't really pay attention or works on himself, becoming a kli, becoming a vessel, in a way, the light does not really exist for him. Because he is not something that even reflects God's light on it. And we, as in a way, should all become vessels in which God's light would reflect to us. And this is how we shine creation. If you want to see God and you want to see the real magnitude of creation, we'll see that it really depends on you, not on what God is showing you. It's all revealed. You are not able to see it because the light does not reflect from you out. You cannot hold the light. So if a person comes and says to me, where is God and why is this and why is that? That shows you that he is right now a non-vessel entity because the light does not, otherwise if he would see it, if he would be able to see it, he would not ask it. The fact that you can see means that you haven't prepared yourself as an appropriate vessel to do that. From an existential point of view, in no way, this is the secret of life itself. By the way, guys, if you want to wash hands, you can go wash hands and then come back. This is the from an existential point of view, this is basically the secret of life itself. In other words, a person is born into this world full of light, full of possibilities, full of meaning, into a world that is full with God's, existence, revelation. It's here. God is present. But the question is, or the question that needs to be asked, is not how much light there is in the world, therefore, but rather how much of what kind of a vessel is the person in order to be able to receive that light. That's the question that needs to be asked. Two people could be in the same place at the same time and be in the same reality and experience things completely different. One would feel complete emptiness, and the other ones could feel complete holiness. Not because the world is different, the experience is the experience, but rather because the vessel, the kli, is different. The kli is different. So a person can go to argument to yeshiva and find it extremely boring, and the other person can be in the same yeshiva, in the same shiur, hearing the same words, and feel completely uplifted and spiritual. In other words, reality is what you make it to be. Now, if we look at this Parshat Terumah, really starts with the vessels. Starts with the Aron, with the ark. Starts with the menorah, with the candelabra. Starts with the shulchan. The Aron represents the hidden internal aspects of things, because this is the place where the Torah is being placed. It's inside the Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu, the Ten Commandments that Moshe Rabbeinu received. It's inside. In a way, the Torah is the true identity that is not dependent on external point of view. In other words, the Aron represents the true self of really who you are. The menorah, the candelabra, really represents the awareness, because it sheds the light of recognition, the light of awareness. And the shulchan, where they put the 12 loaves of bread, really represents the ability to bring the spirituality into the physical world itself, in other words, into life itself. And that's why the bread, after a whole week being there, would still smell fresh. That's the reason for the miracle. Would still stand fresh. They will put it on Friday, from Friday to Friday, it will still be fresh. To show you that even in something materialistic, you could bring some essence, and smell is always referred to as spiritual. It's the spiritual sense. Smell is the spiritual sense. And by the way, this is why Mashiach is going to determine if a person is a Levi, a Kohen in Israel, by the sense of smell. In other words, it's pure spirituality. The Kabbalah talks about a very fundamental concept. It says, Let atar panui mineh. There's no place that is empty of God. In other words, God's light is everywhere. But the person, the human, because of his existential experience, many times feels just the opposite. He feels like there's no God here. Not because God is not here, because you don't feel it. And he feels that God is hiding. He feels quiet, that God is not responding to me, and so on and so forth. And this is the paradox of human existence in a way. A person is free, right? But freedom scares him. There's no oppression, but there's no complete certainty. There is a choice, and this choice creates responsibility. And that responsibility creates anxiety. And that anxiety creates an existential loneliness. You feel alone because now you're anxious. You can't be around, and so on and so forth. Parashat Terumah doesn't just deal with how to build the Mishkan itself, but really in the vessel in it, right? And of course, the question Chazal asked, why is it Moshe Rabbeinu was commended first on the vessels, right? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. First talk about the building, then talk about the vessels. I mean, you don't buy furniture and then say, okay, let's see which house we're going to put the furniture in. By the way, I had a friend like this. I had a friend like this who, after they got married, his parents, her parents, some of the parents bought them this like ginormous furniture, and he had a chance to live really next door to me and somebody else. I won't mention names. He says, I love the house, it's a nice neighborhood, but I can't buy the house. The house at the time was like, I think maybe like $350,000. Today is like way over $1 million. I said to him, why can't you buy the house? He said to me, the furniture won't fit in. I said, you fool, get rid of the furniture and just get the house. He didn't do that. I mean, but that's exactly what is happening here. So it really doesn't make sense. I mean, a person first will start building the wall, and then later on is going to put furniture, going to put all the vessels inside. However, the individuality of all the utensils of the Mishkan is really great, right? As we said, the Lechem HaPanim was hot for a week. The light of the menorah never turned on. Right near Ma'aravi was always lit. The Aron kept the Torah that was in it, and the jar with the man that was served like this for thousands of years. There was the miracle, right? The message is clear. The process of coming close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu starts from within. The process of getting close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is external. It's internal, not external. It starts from the vessels, not from the chitzoniyut of the Torah. Not because you like the way a Borsolino looks on you and you want to look like a Sicilian mafia, so you're putting a black Borsolino. Not because if that's what you're doing for, that's not what it is. Go become a jazz musician, wear Borsolinos, wear fedoras. Or if you want to wear a frock because that's what you wear in the Wild West, but this is not going to bring you closer to God. That's the hint for all of us, right? The Torah comes and teaches us a tremendous foundation, a tremendous secret here. He said which is very clear. Real existence does not start with the building, with the structure, but rather with the meaning. It doesn't start with a format, but rather what the format, what the framework actually holds within. It doesn't start from the outside, it starts from the inside. And now the parashiyot of the Mishkan really kind of, how should I say it, negotiate between the Ma'amad Har Sinai, receiving the Torah on Mount Sinai, and the Chet of the Egel, the sin of the Egel, the golden calf. Chazal described the golden calf as a tremendous betrayal, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like a bride who is not faithful to a just married groom right under the chuppah. That's what happened. That's what happened to us. And really, in the height of closeness to God, Am Yisrael makes this terrible sin of the golden calf. So how is it possible that it happened? How is it possible to happen? Ma'amad Har Sinai, receiving the Torah on Mount Sinai, was so powerful that there was no room anymore for doubts. There were no doubts. God Himself was there. You saw it. You couldn't say there's no more God. Right now, you can claim whatever you want. You can claim you're an atheist, agnostic, I don't know what, Filipino, whatever you want to call yourself. In Har Sinai, you couldn't claim this. You could not say I'm agnostic, or I'm atheist, or I'm a Buddhist, or I'm a whatever, when God comes and says, hey, how you doing, man? What's up? You couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. I mean, you want to know how stressful was the Har Sinai? I'm sure you all watch, how do you call it? I think it was Star Trek. I don't know the difference between Star Trek or Star Wars, whatever. But when he comes to, Luke, I am your father, right? When Darth Vader, Star Wars. Okay, Star Wars. When what's his name?
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader told the other one, look, son, I'm your daddy, right? Who's your daddy now? Now what are you going to say? Now Har Sinai was like even mega that. You couldn't say anything. Now you have to think about everything that you do, all your little desires and so on and so forth. In a way, poof, evaporated in hot air. Because right, you can say, I don't know. Now you want to feel like doing something. Where God is not here. I don't know. If he is, probably sleeping. He left us alone. Whatever it is. Why did God create this whole entire world? He didn't. There was some big bang or whatever the heck that is. It was. And let me do what I want to do. I'm going to come up with all excuses. I told down in a car. Somebody sent me a. Somebody sent me a video clip of this TV show. I think it's called Alone or Being Alone, something like this. And he sent me this one about people being somewhere in Alaska, I don't know, in the Arctic Circle, something like this. So at the beginning, everybody starts, well, I'm going to win this. I have all the skills. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. And then they cut and paste each one. Some of them, I think there was one guy who was medically disqualified. But all the other ones and one shot himself in the leg, with a bow and arrow. I don't know how you do that, but whatever. But all the other ones, they just come up with excuses why they couldn't do this anymore. One said, I miss my mommy, I haven't seen her for like 3 months. And then he says to himself, well, there were times I haven't seen my mother 3 or 4 months, and there wasn't a thing. Why am I living? Basically, you come up with all the excuses in the world why you need to quit. Only one guy who had meaning. Say, I look at my kids, I'm not to impress anybody. He was able to manage, he actually won it. I think you win something like $500,000 or some crazy amount of money like that. We are the same thing. We make all the excuses in the world why we all of a sudden God does not exist for us at that moment. So we're going to make all these things. Har Sinai took out all these things out. There was no such thing as saying, where is God? Where was God here? Who is God? He took it all out. And that really shook the actual core existence of not only the Jews, all the other nations. Because the revelation of Mount Sinai happened to everybody knew what was going on. How do we know that? It's not something that I invented, because Jethro, right? He heard what happened in Yetziat Mitzrayim. He was there. Everybody knew. And that's why everybody likes to fight the Jews. Because the Jews have the truth. And I cannot claim that I hold the ultimate truth if I know that he is really the truth. So what I'm going to do? I'm going to knock him down. I'm going to persecute him. I'm going to kill him. And that's what's happening to us. That's what's happening to us. For example, we don't have any beef with the Buddhists because they don't claim any of that. But all the other faiths, whether it's Christianity or Islam, claim to be the revised world of God. But really cannot claim the truth when there's somebody else actually holds the truth within themselves. And that's why we get hated more, because they know, the nations of the world know our job. And when we don't do the job, they get angry. Say, what's that? You're supposed to be the chosen people, and you threw away the Bible. For me, it's always a question like this. I always ask, sometimes I ask Israelis, I said, okay, if you claim that the whole stories of the Bible was all fabricated, which is not, right? But they will claim, so at what right you sit in this land? The only right you sit in this land is because the Bible itself says, this is the land that God gave to the Jews. So if you denounce that, you basically denounce your right to be in the land.
That's why, like Hesed and other people were willing to accept Ethiopia as...
Uganda.
Uganda.
Yeah. So now, when it was so powerful, right? It felt like they're being oppressed, and Chazal says, "Kafa aleim har kigigit." They felt they were forced to do that. And when this complete absolute light is present, there's no place for choosing. That's why if there's no place for me to do it, to have a choice, therefore there's no way for me to exist. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you should know, does not only ask for your presence. God does not ask you just to be in shul. He doesn't ask for your presence only. He also wants a connection with you. That's why it's important for you to be a part of a community. That's why Judaism does not like hermits. Judaism likes communities to make a society. HaKadosh Baruch Hu asks for a true kesher, a true connection. And a true connection can only take place when there is freedom. And I'm going to tell you something that for all of you who are married or those of you who are going to get married. If you want to have a true connection with your spouse, assuming you pick the right one or you're about to pick the right one. Assuming you're about to pick the right one. Make sure that person would allow you freedom also for yourself, space. And make sure you allow the person space as well. If the person sits there like a tick on your jugular, you know that this is not the right person for you. The person says, my way or the highway, excuse me, I'll take the highway. I'll buy the bike also.
The motorcycle.
Of course, the motorcycle. Oh, what do you think? I already have the leather jacket. I'm out of here. There hasn't been a woman in the world that was created that is worthwhile to give you freedom. Because if you don't give this freedom, you're never going to have true relationship, true connection. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us choice to give us an ability to create real connection because we want to. It's very simple. Somebody today told me, he says, listen, for you it's not a problem, with your yetzer. Said you're a married man, you're a religious man, so therefore there's not a problem. And I said to this person, I said, you're absolutely wrong. It has nothing to do with being religious. It's not have to do with marriage. It has to do with nothing. It's a conscious decision that a person makes. I said, but there are religious people who cheat on the spouses. There are married men or married women that cheat on the spouses. Many times, not always, is because the connection was not really there. And usually the connection is not there because one side tries to overpower the other. I'm not talking about here, God forbid, I am not talking about open relationship. I'm talking about an effort to build a connection through giving the person a space to grow so they could develop together. We don't want bonsai relationship. If you're going to take trees in a forest and you're going to make the forest too dense, the forest will die. In order to have a healthy forest, you need to have spaces. So you want to either be like this, tall and high, and then you're going to, comes the wind and you break, or you want to be a bonsai. Most of us are bonsai. Right, Yosef? Don't be a bonsai.
What does it mean, bonsai?
Bonsai is the small
tree.
miniature tree.
Oh, yeah.
As it is, kind of miniature. So don't make yourself even further small. And don't let anybody make you small. All these problems of super controlling people and so on and so forth will kill your relationship. And why is that? Because I'm not giving you space, your own space. If your wife, for example, wants you to be there 24/7, does not allow you time because, hey, it's not, you need to be with the kids too. Well, how about me learning? I need to also access my thing. Guess what? You don't allow me to do that? Okay, I'm going to go somewhere else. And that's what happens. When you go on dates, you need to be examining that as well. And actually, probably more that the willingness of the person, how controlling the person is, the willingness of the person to give you time to learn, time to grow, time for your own space to develop as a person. And then you do things because you want to, not because you have to.
Or if it's the opposite, they say just go learn.
We'll get to this at a time. That's not what we're talking about now. So now, okay, so for that question, I'm going to tell you this. If that's what I tell you all the time, you also need to show it some responsibility, right? To say, okay, you know what, I need to help, but not on account of your Zman Kavua. Show some responsibility, right? Do the dishes, do the laundry, clean up, go shopping, cook something. But when your time to learn, it's not time to put the babies to sleep. I don't like this excuse. I got to put the babies to sleep. Baruch Hashem, I had 7 kids, and they all went to sleep. I didn't have to put my kids to sleep. They all went to sleep. My wife did not stay next to the crib to have to go to sleep. They went to sleep. Teach your kids. The question is, do you really want your kids, does the wife really want you to help the kids to sleep, or she just doesn't want you to go to learn? That's the question that needs to be asked. And don't tell me family overall, because it reminds me Deutschland über alles. Right? That's what the Germans used to say. Germany above all. Because your family without Torah has no chance. It will fall apart. It will fall apart. So now, when a person can choose or has an ability not to choose and still chooses, right? It's also a form. You know, I can't choose, but I choose. I choose to do that. There's also a way to make responsibility. And that's why Kadosh Baruch Hu kafale mar kegigit. Abnei Yisrael shel Kadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, there is a mountain on top of our heads. But na'aseh v'nishma. We choose to do that. You want to drop it, but we'll do it. So, Chet HaEgel is not just a moral decline, but also an expression for an existential cry. It's like they were really in, as they say, in dire straits. When the light disappears, a person stands in front of emptiness. It's like a black hole that really sucks you in from complete uncertainty. And that's why you need to remove yourself from uncertainty. So therefore, when you have an uncertainty, you want something real. When you feel uncertainty in your relationship, you're most likely going to go somewhere else that's going to feel more real to you. Whether it's relationship between husband and wife, whether it's relationship between father and son, and so on and so forth. When the father figure doesn't feel real, the kid will go somewhere else to feel real. Something he needs that, right? You need something that is going to fill up that gap, that fill up that space. And this is a moment that we all know and we all understand. This is a morning when all of a sudden meaning is not something you take for granted. It's a meaning when a person asks, is there meaning? Is there a presence? Am I present in my life? Or maybe everything is dependent on me. And here comes Parshat Terumah and offer us a very deep outlook to that matter. It says, don't only just look at the light. Don't just look for the light. But, and even more so, build the vessel. Bnei takli. A person, as people, humans, we don't control the light. We can make the light stop. We can make the light come more. The light comes because HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it come. That's it. But the only thing we could do, and the only thing we control is what kind of vessel are we going to be? What are we going to be? And that's exactly what the Rambam writes, which we learned this week. Kadosh Baruch Hu does not decree on you if you're going to be a wicked man, you're going to be a righteous man, you're going to be a wise man, you're going to be a stupid man. It is all your choice. It is all your choice. And because of your choice, that's your responsibility. The Mekubalim teach us that a true Kli is really being formed from something that is lacking. In other words, when there is the need, and therefore I'll build the vessel. As Musa Confucius says, if you build it, they will come. It's exactly like this, right? So from the recognition that I'm not perfect, if a person is too God, is too arrogant, right? Kadosh Baruch Hu cannot dwell inside of him. I'm too arrogant. I'm too good for that. So there's nothing wrong with me. That's the whole problem. That's the whole problem that we have nowadays. There's nothing wrong with me. The problem is with you, not with me. So therefore, I'm never going to fix myself. I'm never going to fix myself. I'm never going to make myself into a vessel where the light will come. Right? If I'm going to realize that I'm not perfect, I'm going to start looking. If I feel that I'm perfect, I'm not going to look for anything. And you should know that lacking is not a blemish. Chisaron. Lacking is not a blemish. Lacking is an opening. Lacking is an opening. It's a powerful experience, regardless of how powerful the experience that you're going through, right? That powerful experience does not guarantee you there's going to be some kind of internal change in you. That would not, and that's exactly what happened in Har Sinai. If, for example, a person was not born fit, right? It was not born ripped like this. If a person was born ripped with six packs and biceps and triceps and whatever steps, he will never go to work. Most likely he will die, he will be sick. Honestly, I look in the mirror, I see a gorgeous person. A person is, look, it's a little bit fat here, a little bit slim here. Let me start working out. I feel I'm like, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to make myself better. Oh, I'm getting weight. I'm going to make myself better, and so on and so forth. So the chisaron, we always look at what we don't have as something that is wrong. On the contrary, when you don't have something, this is when you start achieving. When you don't have something. And that's why it says, Vayishman Yeshurun Vayivat. The Jews, or the people of Israel, got fat. And then they kicked the bucket. I don't need this, I don't need God anymore. So a society of wealth is not good for you. If you're being fed with a silver spoon in your mouth, you're going to have a problem. You're never going to fix yourself. And that's why you get the spoiled brats. But when a person can stand, right, in front of the truth, and yet become not become a truthful person, right? That's the problem. You know what the truth is, and you choose to turn off the light. That's what happened to Bnei Israel. A person can see the light and still be in complete darkness. Still be in complete darkness. And because that's the way you chose to see things. That's how you did. The difference between the light that shines on the person, between the light that shines, that's the difference between the light that shines on the person and the light that shines from the person. And that's the difference between oppression and choice, between external influence to internal building. We allow the world outside to influence us too much instead of building ourselves with good character. People will go to the gym, which is, it's okay to go to the gym with a limit. But I don't see themselves yearning to grow spiritually, to grow as a human, forget as spiritual, to grow as a human being with morals and values. Why? And then you wonder why nobody wants to look at you, or why nobody wants to be your friend. Because there's no light reflecting from you. The light of Moshe Rabbeinu, was so great because he dismantled himself and allowed God to fill him up so much. People could not stand and to look at Moshe Rabbeinu, not because there was something wrong with his light or whatever it is, because he reminded them the truth of what they could be and chose not to be. And it's very hard to deal with the truth. That's why it says it's very good to see, to go, if there's a big rabbi that comes, or a great person, to come and see, to go and see him, visit him. There's stories, many stories in the Gemara about this. And I always wonder why. And one time when Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu Alav Shalom was in Queens, I walked right behind him. He was walking, Rabbi Bechaim, I walked right behind him. And I looked at this, I said, there's like two men, just like me. They're humans, male, just like me. And look what they have done with themselves, what they have done in their lives, and what I have done. And I felt a tremendous urge. I said, you know what? I got to get serious. And believe me, I was very serious then. But that took me to a different level. When you see a person like this, he's a person just like you. That's why it's good to see a person in person, not through the video. You see who he is and what he became. And what are you? What are you? This is the difference between gaining excitement to transformation. People get excited about things, but they never transform into something else. They just stay the same old, right? And that happens the same thing with elections. It happens with everything. Person lives in a world of great stimuli all around him, or lives in a world of curtains, right? Whether the curtains, the masach, the curtain that comes down between you and Hashem, or the masach of the television, or the screen of your telephone, right? We live in the world of screens. We live in a world of voices and noises, of stories. And everything that you come wants your attention. That's why you go to Manhattan, you go to Times Square, you see those lights and so on. I don't like to go. I don't know what people find in this place. the lights and this, like what's so exciting about lights? Everything wants your attention. I want my attention to be all over. What's going on with me? Not on these things. Cars and noise. When a guy comes to you and he drives his brand new car, let's say he drives his brand new BMW that the German engineers decided to make it silent as a whistle, and now he puts a muffler that sounds like I don't know what, Janis Joplin on steroids. It tells you something about the person. He's a person that feels that nobody pays attention. He needs to make an announcement. Hey guys, I'm here. It's a person that basically nothing. He's a nothing. He feels nothing. He needs to make an announcement everywhere he arrives. A real man doesn't need to show, hey guys, I'm here. He comes in just by his presence, walking through the door. People would notice him. That right away everybody will gravitate towards him. Both men and women. Because that person worked on himself. He doesn't need this fanfare and fireworks to announce his existence. He's just there. Together with that, everything chooses to define you, right? Excuse me, what are you? Are you Jewish? Are you Hasidic? Are you a white Caucasian between the ages of 20 to 30? Are you privileged? Are you African American? Are you Mexican American? What are we doing, Cheech and Chong here? What is this? Everything wants to define you. And I hate this when they send you from the doctors. Define yourself, right? Are you Islander? Are you this? Who cares? Not your business. One time I wrote Asian. The guy says to me, hey, you're not Asian. I said, really? I said, I'm Asian. He said, no, you're not. I said, yes, I am. I said, where are you from? I said, I'm from Israel. He said, well, you're not Asian. I said, where was the last time you looked at the map? No, it was a rofeh, it was a doctor. Oh. That's stupid. One of my talmidim years ago was a very interesting character. It was a Bukhari kid that was born in Belgium and grew up in South Africa. He lived all his life, and he was like as a baby. His parents moved to South Africa, and so he came here. He went to Queen's College, and he wasn't aware of that. So they asked him, "Well, why are you?" So he wrote, African. So they called him in, and they looked at him and said, we could dismiss you, disqualify you, whatever." He said, "Why?" He said, "You wrote you're African." I said, well, I am African. He said, "No, you're not." I said, "What do you mean I'm not? I was born in Africa. I'm African." They give him a hard time, but he won. So listen, I'm born in South Africa. It doesn't get more African than South Africa.
How is he Bukharian if he wasn't born in Belgium?
His parents Bukharian.
That's so random.
His parents are Israeli Bukharim. They moved to Belgium, right? He was born there, and then it was 6 months, they moved to South Africa. I've never seen a Bukhari speak with a South African accent. It was ridiculous. Ridiculous. Yeah. Nice guy, I tell you, nice guy. I really liked him. He was a nice guy.
Where'd he go?
Later story, not for now. Besides, it's, how do they say, Nanya?
None your business.
Nanya?
Very funny.
Now, anyway, so now everything wants to define you, and so on and so forth. Within all this noise, a person stands from the greatest existential question: is am I living for myself, or based on the pressure that is applied to me on the outside? Am I who I am, or am I who everybody else wants me to be? And that's one of the problems that we have with the world of Torah. The Torah demands you to be a truthful person. And when we live in the world of life of Torah becomes very difficult. So from a humanistic point of view, this is the moment when a person asks this question. That's the moment of birth of the authentic person, right? An authentic person is not a person that lives from a complete certainty, but rather a person lives from a constant choice. He always makes a choice. A person that does not hide behind the masks of a job, or the mask of expectations, of habits, whether they're family expectations, or cultural expectation, or whatever expectations. Is a person that is willing to meet himself and face himself truthfully and deal with it and try to make the best of it. And that's, by the way, Purim is around the corner. Purim is really around the corner, and the holiday of Purim reveals us the same secret. Purim is the holiday of masks, right? We dress up, people put masks in Israel, the mask of themselves. And thank you. And this is specifically when the Hester, the inside, really reveals a deeper truth about who really we are, right? Not the revealing light of Mount Sinai, but rather the hidden light of the constant choice, of the human constant choice that we are dealing with all the time. Your choices that you make will tell a story of who you are. The choices that you make define your life, and your life defines who you are. You can't escape that. The Kabbalah teaches us in the root of the neshama, in the shorish of the neshama, person is a vessel to the light of the Ein Sof, and this vessel is not given. This vessel needs to be built. In every decision and every moment, it has to be a moment of truthfulness, of honesty. Every moment that a person chooses to be, not only to exist. You need to be, not only to exist. In other words, you need to be present in your life. Take responsibility. It's not a matter of like, I need to survive, because survival it's called to be carried away, to get drifted, right? Whatever reality takes you, that's surviving. Whatever reality takes you survive. To be is to really choose presence all the time. To exist is to live from a habit. I have a habit. That's my habit. To be is to live from awareness. To exist is to be an empty vessel. To be is to be an open vessel. I'm receiving the light all the time. I'm opening, I'm receiving. Parashat Terumah really invites us to ask the question, not what is around us, but rather what is really inside of us. Mi anachnu be'emet, inside of us. What kind of a vessel are we building? What kind of a self am I becoming? What kind of a person I became? Are we allowing the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to really dwell inside of us? Are we making ourselves an appropriate place for the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be in? So we could shine from this light on the world? So we can make this world into a better place to all humanity? A part of that is being grateful. Listen, I'm going to tell you this. We have to be very grateful to live in this country. We have to be very grateful. And if you're not going to be grateful, it's going to be taken away from you. You have to be grateful about everything that you're giving. Because if not, it'll be taken away from you. You know why it's going to be taken away from you? Not to punish you. Because you don't care about it. If you don't care about it, let me give it to somebody else. It's as simple as that. At the end of the day, as they say, the Mishkan is not just a place in space and time. The Mishkan, the temple, is a moment when a person decides to become truthfully present in his life, when he decides to take control over his life, when he decides to become responsible for his life. It's a moment when a person stops running away, stop escaping, but rather starts being present and dealing. When a person becomes a kli to the light stays there all the time. When a person decides to become a kli for the light, a vessel for the light would reveal itself and shine light on his darkness. And that's what the Rambam writes in Moreh Nevuchim as well. I really hope that we all become appropriate vessels. And this world should not have wars anymore. And we should all see the light of God, the glory of God. And we should really make this place a worthwhile place for all humanity to live. Not for our sake, but rather for God's sakes. And again, we should wish a refuah shlema to Shaul ben Marvari. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישלח לו רפואה שלמה בכל רמ"ח איבריו ושס"ה גידיו, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף, ויקום איתן חזק ובריא לעבודת הבורא במהרה בימינו. שבת שלום.
אמן, שבת שלום.